again, everybody. Welcome to StarTelegram.com's best feature here on Cowboys Overtime. Thank you. Mac Engel, Footwear Star Telegram, and aspiring Dallas Cowboys running back, joined by my good friend, Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr. Clarence, nice to see you. You're looking very good these days. What's your secret? What's your secret?
What's my secret?
Yeah, what's your secret to staying? I mean, how do you look 60? It's amazing.
Wow. I wish I could give you half the peace sign right now. I want to give you half the peace sign. Am I allowed to do that? Can I give you half the peace sign?
I don't think Window Nation cares. Go ahead. I probably deserved it. You do. You look ageless.
You deserve it.
I
tried to fire Jason Kidd again last week.
I did not. Lies.
Don't talk about
lies. That. We'll get into that in a minute, but I'm tired of these lies and character assassination by you. It's needless, as you would say, shots.
It's shot o'clock.
I do have a question. You've got the beard going. And the one thing I've noticed is
salt and pepper's working too.
It's looking
good.
Used
to dye. I used to dye. I decided
Did you really?
to quit dyeing and just go with the salt and pepper.
But at some point, I know you will shave it.
Yes.
And when you do shave it, you'll lose like 10 years off your age. Everybody does it.
No. I just shave it. I never shaved the beard off. I just trim it. I groom it more.
No, but at some point, don't you think you'll just like, I'll just shave the whole thing off?
Well, if I shave my face, yes, I'll lose 10 years. You're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was talking to a buddy of mine about this. As we get older, you have to be strategic about picking that point of time. Because right now, I've got a lot of white in my beard. I'm 50, so I'm shaving like every 5 minutes. So how did you get to that point where you're like, man, screw it, I'm just going to let it go, and then eventually you'll go back? Like, take me through that process, because I'm fast approaching it.
The process is that you never trust a black man without facial hair. Number one. I mean, you can just Google it. I mean, you can't.
Let's add that to the list of things I won't be saying here on Cowboys Overtime, sponsored by Window Nation.
You got to have some facial hair, okay?
All right. Well, speaking of guys with facial hair, Micah Parsons, before we get into the topics that we were going to discuss, right before this, I was like, what has Micah Parsons been doing this offseason? First of all, he's got all these social media clips of him doing everything but, fighting a lion in the wild. This includes a video clip where he's working out with a professional boxer trading body shots. Now, for those who don't know, Micah Parsons was a monster wrestler in high school. He could have been an Olympic wrestler. That's how good he was. And I only know that because I talked to his high school coach about it one time. And the coach said Micah would go to wrestling practice after football practice and destroy guys, to the point where the coach was like, Micah, you got to stop. You're like humiliating our best wrestlers. So he gets in the ring, a workout ring with the pro boxer, and they're trading body shots.
Stomach
shots. It's a body shot.
Yes.
So Micah throws a body shot to a pro boxer who's much smaller. Then the pro boxer turns and throws a stomach shot to Micah Parsons. And if there's one thing I learned having done some boxing workouts, I'm a big fan of it. I did a lot of workouts with Paulie Ayala. I love Paulie. Those workouts are my favorite. You don't mess around with pro boxers. They know what they're doing. And this guy delivered a shot to Micah Parsons, the biggest, baddest man in the NFL. And Micah said, no mas.
Right.
So I'm like,
as boxers will tell you, you don't play boxing, okay?
No.
You play football. You play basketball.
You're right.
You don't play boxing.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
There's a big difference. So then Micah says, okay, that's it. I'm done. So then he goes to Japan with Houston Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud on some kind of tour.
They're buddies.
Okay. And he gets into a sumo ring with a Japanese sumo wrestler. And the highlights are all over social media. And he goes mano a mano with this 18-year-old who looks like he could be a left tackle tomorrow. And I know NFL contracts, pro sports contracts are loaded with all this language that says if you suffer an injury doing this long list of potential activities, up to and including taking something out of a microwave, then you could lose part of your salary. So, Clarence, what the hell is Micah Parsons thinking?
Living life, man. The man is living life. I used to say this about Tony Romo when he enjoyed the life of being a Cowboys quarterback. he's living the life of Riley. I mean, you don't expect these things, these opportunities to take these models and go to all these different places. And Micah is enjoying the trappings of being freaking Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. And it didn't just start there. He was in the All-Star game, dunking on people and
I forgot about that.
Okay. He was doing his thing. He, has the podcast, right? He's 24. He's living life. He's going to Japan. He's, wrestling, dealing with sumo wrestlers. Did you see him throw out the first pitch at the baseball game in Japan?
Who threw out the bad one? It was either him or Stroud.
They both were bad.
Yeah, okay.
They both were bad. Okay. And the thing about Micah is he can never admit failure. It's always an excuse.
Yeah.
My catcher was over here. It's just always something that just he's like a kid. He never wants to admit defeat. He never wants to admit wrong. He's on there, but he's having fun. He's living life. What he's not doing is hanging out with his teammates in the off-season program, okay? And he's back on Twitter this morning criticizing defensive line drills. I mean, I just retweeted something from him. He's talking about, these defense, I hate these defensive line drills and because where they have their hands. So he's expert on everything. He does everything. He enjoys everything. He has a podcast. One thing he's not doing, he's not getting in trouble, okay? He's not Rasheed Rice, okay?
Let me ask you this.
He's not getting in trouble.
Is that the gold standard now? Well, I'm not Rasheed Rice.
I'm just saying, he's not
drag racing.
He's not on National Enquirer. He don't have 55 baby mamas. He ain't doing, he's just enjoying the life of being Micah Parsons.
Well, I think you and I would both agree. There's a little bit difference than, say, dating Jessica Simpson and going toe-to-toe with a sumo wrestler.
It's all about enjoying life.
I'm with you on that. And that's his thing. And part of me is like, it would be so cool to do that. I mean, physically, and he's enjoying the hell out of it. I think the fear for everybody, I think anybody who's followed the NFL long enough knows that most of these guys are staying in shape 12 months out of the year. A lot of this off-season work is just for show. I mean, it doesn't. He's staying in shape. But I think the concern, like any owner would have, or any general manager or coach, like, hey, dude, don't get hurt. Just don't get hurt. And, I think that when I watch him do those things, you're putting yourself in the line of fire. You might get hurt.
Jet skiing. What do you want him to do? I'm sure he's just. There was not a real wrestling match. They were just like, let me see who can, just be able to push you. I mean, so you're not talking about anything really dangerous.
No, I think I
would worry about Michael Parsons, him running with the Bulls in Spain. Okay, when he starts running with the Bulls,
let me tell you somebody. I did that.
And I am saying
I did that
when he starts running with the Bulls.
Well, and the problem with that, like, nothing's going to happen. I did it 20 some years ago, and it's one of the coolest. I did it on my birthday. It's one of the coolest experiences.
I've seen people get gored, okay?
You can, but you get as close.
You can get gored.
No, you're not going to get gored. Those idiots no, you're not.
But these have gotten gored.
Yeah, it can happen. I mean, you can get the day I did it, they do it 7 straight days from the 7th of July to the 14th or the 13th. And you get as close to danger as you want. What you don't know it until you do it, is that the most dangerous thing about it isn't the bull. It's the person running right behind you or right in front of you, because you can't go faster than the person in front of you. And there's a lot of people doing it.
Right, you get trampled, and then the bull catches you.
The bull's not going to catch you. It's not going to catch. The thing I'll never forget it. It's funny. That was 20-some years ago, and I remember all of it, because I was scared half to death. I mean, I was scared to death. And at one point, I ducked off the course. The course isn't that long, but it's really narrow. And I ducked off, and I got hit with a cattail by one of the security guys saying, "You got to get back on the course." Like, I wanted to run like 10 feet and say I did it.
Did you like it?
No, I was scared to death, because I thought. So I ran up the road. I ran up the alley. I know where you're going. Shut up. I know where you're going with this, you freak. And I ran up the thing, and I'm like 15 feet away from the bull ring. And it is still a regret. I didn't go into the bull ring. I wish I had. I really wish I had. But about 5 seconds later, then the Bulls ran past me. And nothing was going to happen to me. Nothing. So if I tell anybody who's interested, go do it. It's one of the coolest experiences of your life.
I just can't wait when the Cowboys go to Mexico and he becomes a bullfighter, and he's up there.
I did see a bullfight. I don't want to see a bullfight ever again. That was fun enough. So Micah Parsons is having the off season of his life, all in the name of great fun. All right, topic number 1. Dallas Cowboys rookie camp begins this weekend. Clarence, you will be out at the Star in Frisco while all the other local teams continue on with what have been pretty exciting seasons. Clarence, what do you expect? I mean, I know these things are basically sort of an introductory for the rookies just to get their feet wet with what NFL is like a little bit, the preparation, the workload, all of it. What do you expect to glean out of this? Much of anything?
No, it's not what it used to be. I remember back in the olden days, back in the good old days, when they used to work hard,
right?
The problem with back in the day when rookie minicamp is guys would, you finish your football season, you get on this circuit, your banquet circuit, to go to the award show, then you train for the combine, and then you get drafted. But you haven't done anything football wise. You haven't done any football drills really. And you get out there and you start doing football things, and then in the sun of Texas, I remember when Des Bryant was puking.
And that guy's a native of Lufkin. It's not like he wasn't
right. No, I'm just saying because you're not ready. You're puking in Valley
right.
Ranch, and guys are not in shape. And you get the sun. And it's hot in Texas. It's going to be 90 degrees or whatever else is going to be this weekend, and so you're not used to it. So they've taken some of the edge off because they don't really have them doing. It's more of a orientation, the introduction of how to work and how to go through drills so they can acclimate to the team's off-season program. So it won't be anything like that where the guys are out there really running through drills and losing their luck, so to speak. But it's going to be fun just to see the guys. You're going to see Cooper Beebe, and so you're going to see Tyler Guyton, the top picks, and then all the undrafted free agents that they signed. But yeah, it's an introduction. It's an introduction orientation to what it's like as a football player, so they can acclimate the drills with the veterans starting next week.
You and I talked about this briefly last week, and it's worthy. It's going to be a subject that's going to come up repeatedly, I think, through the first month at least of the regular season, depending on how the production goes. Clarence, the Dallas Cowboys have had some of the greatest running backs, arguably the greatest running back in the history of professional football, at least statistically, in Emmitt Smith. I also had Tony Dorsett, one of the best running backs in late 70s and early 80s, and Ezekiel Elliott, who is now back with the team as the veteran, Grizzly veteran. And in his time, he won a couple of rushing titles when he was younger. The time of the Dallas Cowboys appears to be completely over. Clarence, the Cowboys flat out simply no longer value running backs, no different than so many other franchises now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The valuation of running back had just come right before our eyes and with the Cowboys. And I don't know if Candy wants to put that little slide up, but
she did
already. My bad. Sorry, Candy. But it's funny because as I've said, and I wrote a story earlier this week, just the valuation of running back and Ezekiel Elliott is Exhibit A. And it's funny because, you're talking about a Cowboys franchise that's never known success without a top back. You go back to Dwayne Thomas and Calvin Hill and all the Super Bowls, they've always had a premier type back. Emmitt Smith, 3-time Super Bowl champion. They were led by, the greatest running back or statistically in NFL history. And certainly the rise to prominence, under Jason Garrett and has been because of first, with Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, and DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray, who rushed for 1,600 yards, and then Ezekiel Elliott. And that's been the backbone of this team and this franchise and their foundation for success. And it's funny because in 2019, the running back was so important. And Jason Garrett, possibly last year, keeping his job, and that Zeke held out, and they gave him the richest contract ever, for a running back because the running back was important. This is what we need. We drafted Zeke. We need Zeke if we're going to ever get back to the Super Bowl because we got this premier running back. Now, from 19 to now to 20, heading 2024, Zeke is back on a minimum deal, making $2 million, and not the 6-year, $90 million contract he signed, in 2019 because the Cowboys do not value the running back anymore. They finally caught up with the rest of the league.
Yeah.
You look at Kansas City won Super Bowl with Freddie Pacheco, a late round draft pick out of Rutgers.
Can you name me the last NFL team? The last running back to win the NFL's MVP award was Sean Alexander with the Seahawks back in 05, 06, someplace like that.
Really? Since Adrian Peterson didn't win it since then?
Did Adrian win it?
Yeah, Adrian won it.
Did he win MVP or was it Offensive Player of the Year?
I'm sure he won MVP. I'll Google it real quick.
Look that up because I thought it was Sean. And you might be right. But it's been a while since Adrian had that great year where he almost broke Eric Dickerson's NFL single season rushing record, because that would have been the year he would have.
Yeah, 2012, sir, 2012.
So he won it. So 2012. So here we are in 24. And even the Vikings, with all that success that they had under AD, they didn't get to a championship game. And I'm trying to think of the last team that went to or won a Super Bowl with a dominant, great running back. And I'm sure there's I can't think of one. I mean, Tom Brady, all those great teams. The only really great running back they had was veteran Corey Dillon, who had come over from Cincinnati, and he had a great season or two. Obviously the Patriots had great. They had Kevin Falk, and they had a bunch of other guys.
When Denver won it in 1998,
Terrell Davis. That was it.
Terrell Davis, right?
Has there been anybody else since then, Clarence, who had a great?
I'm just looking through the list.
I can't think of any.
I'm just looking through the list of the rushing yards leaders, the leading rushers, no. I mean, Adrian Peterson, Chris Johnson, LaDavid
Chris Johnson.
When he won it a couple of times, they did not win the Super Bowl.
Derrick Henry,
Sean Alexander, Curtis.
Nope, Martin. Those Jets teams got to an AFC Championship game under Bill Parcells one year. That was it. They never.
Adrian James. Coach, they didn't win it with Edgerrin James. They won it when he left, right?
He left, and then they won. They had Joseph Adai and the other guy. I can't think. Dominic.
Yeah. Rhodes. So then you go back to the Barry Sanders, and I mean, from it was Emmitt Smith, and it was Terrell Davis. As far as rushing champs to win a title, and it's been a while. I mean, it hasn't happened.
Well, then let me ask you this:
the closest was Christian McCaffrey. He led the league in rushing last year, and
that would have been it.
But they didn't win the Super Bowl.
No, they came damn close. I mean, and you can say McCaffrey was a weapon that you could. And he was a multifaceted guy, right. But I mean, he was a hell of a runner. The question I have for you, and like I said, this is going to be talked about a lot because of the way the Cowboys approached it in terms of personnel and names. Do you think they're going to regret it? The way they have. Basically, with the guys that they have, do you think this is one they're going to regret?
How they are doing the running back position?
Yeah. Do you think this is one that they're going to be kicking themselves by week 8?
No, because they can always go get one. I mean, I think there's a chance they can get one at the end of the preseason. And as Jerry said, we can always trade for one. And they can if they find themselves needing a running back. I think there will be running back options out there. Everybody's kicking their butt because they didn't get a running back in the 3rd or 4th round. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you tell me that you can't find a running back off the waiver wire who's going to give you the same type of production as possibly a 3rd or 4th round pick.
I don't know. I think if they go out and let's just say, I mean, I know somebody threw it out, and if there wasn't any legs to it, but let's just say the Cowboys decide we're going to make a run at Najee Harris of Pittsburgh. Just hear me out. And they give up a 3rd round to get him. That means that they've kind of like the Amari Cooper thing of several years ago, when they were going to go with this receiver by committee thing in place of Dez Bryant, and it blew up in their face, and they had to give up a 1 for Amari, and Amari hit. I don't care anybody says that was a good trade. But if they have to do this, if they have to give up a 3 or a 4 to go get a guy, then that's admitting that they screwed this up.
No, it's not admitting.
Why do you think this is different than that? If they did that, why would this be different?
Because you're talking about a mid-round pick. If I give them a 4th round pick in the middle of the season for a running back to help us win the Super Bowl, I don't think it's not. I don't think that's what you're going to give up anyway. That's what you're going to trade for. I mean, that's the type of value you're going to put on a running back anyway. And if I do that and I give them a 4th round, and the Najee Harris thing has no legs.
No. I'm just throwing out a name. I know I said that. But I'm just throwing out a vet.
But most likely it won't be even that high of a pick. I mean, it's going to be. a final day pick, if that's the case for a running back, because they just aren't valued like that. And again, I don't think it's an issue of admitting a mistake. It's an issue of doing what you need to do. They valued other positions. They valued linebacker over running back in the third round.
And you know what? I would totally say you're right, except one thing. This is a team that gave up a 4th round pick for the 3rd string quarterback who is never going to see a snap of any significance with this team. All right, hang on. We got to. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's 2 different conversations.
No.
I agree with you.
On this,
it's a wasted pick, especially if they re-sign Dak, but it's 2 different conversations.
Yeah,
quarterback
right.
is so
it's all right. What's not a conversation?
You got to find the quarterback for the future, okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah, his name's Cooper Rush. There's your winner. You know who we can't make a trade for? A better sponsor, the Window Nation. We're going to hear from them right now.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no interest payments for 60 months, 5 full years. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, thank you very much, Window Nation. Still can't believe there are companies out there that want to claim we are a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys or partner or whatever. But thank you nonetheless, Clarence. We're going to move on from the Dallas Cowboys.
Before we get to the next topic, I just got to share a little something. My fellow beat writers on the Cowboys are talking trash to me on Twitter. I mean, on tweet. I mean, in a group text, because we put. I wrote a story today on DeMarvion Overshawn, and we put exclusive by it. And they're kicking my,
why?
Blowing my phone up because they're haters, because they didn't get DeMarvion Overshawn.
Hey, congratulations to you for doing a great job.
Yes,
you know what that is.
The fact that one of his sponsors called me and was a sponsored deal. They're just you can't get.
I get that one.
Sponsored deal.
Well, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
You text them back. That sounds like a you problem.
It is. I told them thanks for reading. Thanks. Please give us clicks. Keep clicking. Keep reading. Keep clicking, okay? Thanks for reading.
All right. Well, we're going to move on from the Dallas Mavericks. We have an exclusive here. The Mavericks might be in a little bit of trouble after advancing out of the first round of the NBA playoffs with a convincing win over the LA Clippers, a team that could not. I mean, I can't remember the last time I watched a talented NBA team like that appeared less interested in winning a series more than the Clippers. Mavericks were all in, defeated the Clippers. And now they're playing against a team that is really good. And unfortunately, the Mavericks' best player appears to be pretty hurt. Luka Doncic, who finished 3rd in the NBA's regular season MVP voting, which was a crime, is playing with a sprained right knee. And in game 1, and really the last couple of games against the Clippers, he appears to be really laboring. Now, Kyrie Irving has had a phenomenal last really month or two. The series against the Clippers, he was outstanding. The Mavericks went up to Oklahoma City and got their butts kicked in game 1 convincingly. Luka Doncic, as I wrote, does not appear to be laboring. He appears to be basically in labor because that knee has slowed him down a lot. I don't know if they were going to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder anyways, even with the healthy Luka Doncic. But Clarence, if this is all Luka has, I don't see how they can beat them in a 7-game series.
No, I mean, the thing about it is, there's one thing I noted. These Western Conference playoffs, young, long, athletic, jumping jack athletic players with Minnesota, with Oklahoma City. It's funny because I messed with my Laker people because they thought we're right there with Denver, like they were close. Well, what Minnesota's doing to Denver tells you you're really further than what you think, because Minnesota is destroying Denver because
Did you ever see that coming?
No, because I don't watch basketball like that anymore. And I didn't know that. I started Googling who are these guys. I was watching Oklahoma City game. And I'm Googling Williams and where this guy, Santa Clara. And I'm Googling these guys, Dort and all these other guys and where they came from, their background. They're not lottery picks, okay?
No, they were
City got a bushel of lottery picks. These are not big name lottery picks who went to these schools that we just can't miss prospects. These are guys who developed.
Yeah.
And came from nowhere.
I think one of the
And they come in waves.
They just keep coming off the bench. It's just another one, and it's another one, and it's another one. And I think one of the biggest achievements in the NBA in the last 5 years or so is the fact that Oklahoma City had an NBA Finals roster with 3 eventual MVPs: Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. They lost all of them.
And they added Paul George at one time.
And then he up and left because he wanted to be in Los Angeles. And then the general manager of that team just kept stockpiling picks, unlike the guy in Philadelphia, and he has turned that into a finals roster in less than 10 years. I don't think we're giving Sam Presti enough credit because when they lost Kevin Durant for nothing, there was all that panic talk, and he went out and he made 2 great picks in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
No, that was a trade.
Oh, was that a trade? I thought that was a draft.
He came from the Clippers. He was on the Clippers.
That's right. That's right.
George.
So he gets him when he's a kid. Yeah. He drafts Chet Holmgren, and now Chet, after missing his first year, and he gets all these other guys, like you mentioned, long and athletic. They're really good. Yeah, and I think, I mean, Clarence, let's go back to this. As I mentioned, Doncic is playing hurt. He's hurt. He's not injured, but he's hurt. If he's healthy, do you think they beat him?
No, because and I hate to bring up Charles, he's right. Luka,
Charles Barkley,
Kyrie, yes. Okay. Luka and Kyrie can play their best. They can average 30, 35 points, but they need them to be at their best. Yep. Oklahoma City got 5 or 6 guys. Okay, they just got guys that come in waves. Who are the other guys that the Mavericks are going to step up? And who
I don't know. I mean, I think
stepped up, and you still need Luka and Kyrie to get 35, and then you need somebody else, 2 other guys to get 20 points. Okay.
Well, I think this is what's going to have to happen. I could see Dallas winning if they win tonight. Is it tonight?
It's tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So I get all these schedules confused. So if they can win game 2 tonight, then it changes things because then Luka can buy a little bit more time. That means for that to happen, Kyrie Irving has to be option number 1. He can't defer.
Right. He has to be
he has to be the guy.
Not go through Luka, has to go through Kyrie.
Yep. And he's done it before. He did it in Boston.
He can do it.
He did it at times in Brooklyn. That was a different dynamic. But the way he's playing right now, he can do it. And I think it's going to come down to, I don't know how this team can possibly rely on Tim Hardaway Jr. If his shot's not going, he's a huge liability. So Dante Exum, who has given them a lot of flexibility on the perimeter, he's going to have to hit his outside shot. And PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford are going to have to play above their norms. Right. And their norms are pretty good. And if they do that, then they can win it. And you can buy time until Luka is healthy. And that may be unrealistic. That's the only way I see this happening. But I think
I was just looking at the other day. Oklahoma City has these are guys who hit threes and it seems like they don't miss. If it's wide open, they're hitting. It's Chet Holmgren, it's Jalen Williams, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, okay, it's Lou Dort, and Isaiah Joe. I'm like, where did this guy come from?
Well, that's some of that. I mean,
Isaiah
Oklahoma
Joe.
City's credit, but I mean, Clarence, we got the NBA draft lotteries coming up in a couple of days. The draft is next month. The reason why nobody knows who these guys are anymore, one, they're coming from overseas, and unless you're just a basketball junkie, you don't know who these guys are. And now, because of the way NCAA basketball is, you're probably only familiar with about 4 or 5 guys anymore when they come out for the draft. So when we see these guys now, you're like, well, where do they come from? Where do they come from? They're coming from everywhere. You don't know who they are anymore because of the way the college game has changed.
No,
so if you had to pick right now.
Isaiah Joe played at Arkansas, and I don't remember him playing in Arkansas. He was a 49.
And you and I love basketball, and we don't even know who they are.
He was a 49. Well, he was the 49 pick of the Sixers in 2020. Okay, played with the Sixers 3 years before going to Oklahoma City. And so, I mean, he basically has been nothing in the league, a nothing burger for much of his career in the league. And now he's like a spot-up shooter that makes all these 3-pointers, for Oklahoma City.
Okay, so let me ask you this about Luka Doncic finishing 3rd in the NBA's. Now, he's a finalist. They named 3 finalists, and he was a finalist, and that's no small feat. His numbers this season were almost Wilt Chamberlain-ish. 29, 9, and 10 on, I think, 48% shooting, which a lot of those are outside shots. And I'm like, and I realize everybody's got a case. Nikola Jokic won it again, his 3rd in 4 years, and I don't have a problem with that because what he does is just exceptional. The part that bothered me was how far back Luka finished. Is there a bias, or is there the fact that he plays in the middle of, Middle Earth, and he just, although, Jokic is playing in Denver in the Mountain Time Zone, what is it about him you think he's just not quite getting the type of credit he deserves for the numbers he's putting up?
Well, I don't know, because he's universally loved. I mean, he's a popular basketball player. Everybody knows his name. I don't know. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, has had a strong case as well. He had the best team. He averaged 30.1 points a game. I mean, obviously people, the voters, are so enamored with the Nuggets and what they've done and what they did last year, and thinking that they, even though they didn't have the best regular season, they were just going to turn it on in the playoffs because they're champions, and we're saying that's not different. The thing I worry about with Luka is not winning this year. You know who's going to be the favorite next year, right? Ant-Man.
Yeah, I'm watching sometimes.
Minnesota with your boy.
What he's doing in the playoffs, I know everybody's like, "Oh, Jordan," but man, there's some parts to his game. I'm like, that's like him going right to left in traffic, throwing it down, that turnaround jump shot. I mean, he's got an arsenal of moves.
Right,
you can't guard.
Minnesota, if not for the injuries, they probably would have had the best record. They had a lot of guys out for injuries, and so if they get to the finals, and I think they've been the best team in the playoffs. The Ant-Man comparisons, it's going to go through the roof. And he's such a great kid, and like he's not always whining. I mean, the other thing is that Luka's whining. All of that.
I agree. You know what? Tim Duncan whined a country mile. He never committed a foul in his 30 years in the NBA.
Yeah, but he never drove. He was in San Antonio. No one paid attention, like that.
All right, we got one more topic to talk about before we wrap this up, and that is the other playoff team in the area, the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars won the NHL's Western Conference regular season title with the most points, which oftentimes is poison for a team to go on to win the Stanley Cup. I went to Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinal series against Colorado. Dallas went up 3-0 in the first period, and they almost had a fourth goal in the final seconds, but Colorado pushed it out just barely. Then the Stars authored a massive gag, gave up 2 power play goals in the second period, then a third goal early in the third period with a better team in overtime. But that one chance Colorado had, they converted for the game-winning goal to take a 1-0 series lead. Of the 2 teams here left in the playoffs, the Mavericks and Stars, the Stars have a better chance to advance, but they are playing a dramatically different team than their first-round matchup against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. This is going to be a totally different series. And there's one thing about this, and I don't know if you had a chance to watch that Game 1 or not. I covered hockey as a beat guy 100 years ago. There's one thing going on here that fascinates me is the Stars' second or third best player is a 39-year-old guy. And for the first time in his life, he looks old. I'm talking about Joe Pavelski. And Joe Pavelski is one of the greatest players in the history of American-born players, which includes Mike Modano, Brian Leach, and a lot of other guys. That's how good Joe Pavelski is. Clarence, can you remember seeing a guy who was older and then in the playoffs or just overnight, he looked old? Because that's what's happened to Joe Pavelski.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've always said I've seen guys fall off the cliff. I've seen guys be great, and then age hits them, and you look at some. I mean, I look at some Cowboys. I mean, Miles Austin fell off a cliff. I mean, this guy said this guy.
But Clarence, would you say that was a fact? Like Miles Austin?
Well, no, it wasn't
age or just injury that finally derailed him.
All of that, but just fall off the cliff, and that happens with age though, with guys that they will fall off a cliff, and LeBron is certainly testing the time and father time, doing what he's doing at 39. But yeah, it happens, and it happens quickly. I remember Dr. J and those guys. It's like they were a shell of their former selves.
Yeah, just
as they got older, and you're right. I think the Stars do have a better chance than the Mavs of advancing, but you can't let 3-0 lead and let that slip away. And
at home.
But the good news is, even with the Mavs, is both of them in the last round did not play well early. They lost their first game. Certainly the Stars were down 2-0.
0-2. Yep.
0-2, yeah, same way. And find a way to come back and win it. And so you hope to send the same thing as here. Again, you can't drop these games at home. They cannot drop game 2 at home, though. I mean, they got away with it last series. They're not getting away with it this series.
Totally agree. Game 2 of the Stars and Avalanches tonight at the American Airlines Center. Get your coffee ready. Both of these games are insanely late. For all of you, we're going to wrap this up. Clarence, thanks a lot. Enjoy Cowboys coverage here. Rookie minicamp begins this week at the Star. For all of your Cowboys, Stars, Mavs, everything else coverage needs, be sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. Thank you, Window Nation. We will see you next week.